right, well, thank you for tuning in with us for our third Facebook Live interview with Conrad Lee, who's running for re-election to the Bellevue City Council. So tonight, our topic is affordable housing, and that's, if you want to ask any questions, feel free to tweet at us. The Twitter handle is @electConradLee, or comment in the Facebook Live video itself, anything you want to ask that has to do with affordable housing. So thank you, Mr. Lee, for being here today.
Hi, welcome. Good to see you
Glad
again.
to be back with you. So yeah, exactly. Anytime you want to ask a question, just put it in the comment section. We'd be glad to answer and address your concerns. But we'll go ahead and get started here with some questions we already have. So being a Bellevue city councilman, you've seen tremendous growth in the city over the years, and we've talked several times before about how your main goal for your next term is to take Bellevue from being a good city to a great city. And I think, we've discussed that a lot, and one of the things that comes with presiding over a city that's booming and growing economically is that you come to certain issues that are complex and controversial, and you need to figure out how to work with your fellow council members and members of the community to address those issues. So why don't we go ahead and speak on that for a little bit.
Okay, yeah, thanks for asking. As you said, the city has grown tremendously. The community has changed a lot. But the basic values are pretty much the same. It's really a place to raise family, quality of life for the neighborhood, and where the education is good for the kids, and where the environment is great, where the place is safe. But of course, with growth, there's new people coming in and then new issues. And now we are no longer just a little city by ourselves, but we're surrounded by other cities. So we're feeling the pressure, the growth pressure from everywhere. And as we know, there are many, many issues, people can find that we can improve on. And as city grows, there's issues on transportation, traffic congestion. People are now taking twice as much time to go from one place to another place. So we need to address those issues. And so some issues, such as that's always been here. Bellevue, because it's such an attractive place for people to live and to work, to raise family, housing has always been an issue. It's more expensive than other places, and there's less land available because when people want to continue to come. At one time, we have enough land in our homes for everybody who wanted to live in Bellevue. When I came here 50 years ago, we have many choices. Right now, there's not that much choice. And so as a result, housing has become one of the challenges. And people, respond, however, to a problem usually or challenge only when it becomes a critical issue, when there's some situations where it really forces people to have to take up the issue and discuss it and try to solve the problem for some segment of the community. And the example is housing. And people use the word affordable housing. I want to clarify a bit what is affordable. Affordable means people cannot afford to buy, but obviously with the housing in such a demand, people are continuing to buy homes. That means lots of people can afford to buy homes. That's why they come in to buy, and they push the price up. I think the important differentiation is affordable means affordable to what population, to whom. Okay, and I think it's a challenge for Bellevue. Bellevue houses only affordable to higher income people, better, well-to-do folks. And so there's a challenge for workforce housing, for example, or young people who want to come to live in Bellevue, who just enter into workforce. And that's a challenge, but it's always been that. And so it's accentuated now because there's a lot more young people here, and they want to all come to live in Bellevue. And so we need to figure out how to address the problem. And also extend it to people like myself. We are now on fixed income, we are retired, and we have to pay taxes on the homes that we used to. And with housing prices going up, what do? We are forced out of their existing homes. Where do I go to live? I'm in the same situation as a young person. So we need to figure out how to make homes more reasonable, not affordable to every income bracket, every condition. And that comes with different ways. I think it's a big problem, as you can see.
Yeah.
When I put in that definition, it's a bigger problem. It's not just for 100 people, 1,000 people, but it's for the whole community. So it's a situation we need to address. I've been looking at this situation for the last many years, but now it's come up to 4 because there's homelessness involved, and there's a population we are feeling about pressure because of our neighboring cities where they have a homeless problem, and so that is issue that needs to be looked into. But it has to be looked into, I think, within the whole context of housing, for everybody, and what comes more important, what's priority, what do we need to look at, and I think we need to do it comprehensively, and we need to, I think one of the things we need to do is we need to solve a problem by involving the community, because it affects everybody, affects me, affects everyone.
Yeah.
So we need to have a comprehensive, we need to listen to the community, we need to involve them, we need to add, not just simple solution is easy. Government can solve all the problems. Government give money to people who can make up the difference if they cannot afford it. But that's not the long-term solution, right?
Right.
We have to figure out, when people can really manage it, afford it, and work toward it. In the old days, people work harder, they make more money, they become more wealthy, so they come to Bellevue to live.
Right.
But
yeah.
That is a natural evolution. But this may have to be modified somewhat. We don't need community have changed, time have changed. We don't need a 4,000 square feet home for a couple or a small family nowadays. We see other places in the rest of the world where you can live in the smaller homes, more compact. Maybe we can use the same lot space for a single family home now, maybe for more than one home. So as a result, we have to look at building costs. We have to look at processing costs. We have to look at permitting costs. There's a lot of things we can look at,
right.
But we have to start fundamentally by looking at what are the solutions,
right.
and how can we address it.
And I think something that you touched on is when you have such a large problem to solve.
Yes.
You have a lot of different people from different backgrounds offering their solutions. And we talked about a little bit with neighboring cities or even other states and things they've done, things that have worked, things that don't work. And we can look at Seattle, and one of the things that their city council talks about a lot, which is sort of taboo, is the idea of rent control. Mm-hmm. And you've also touched on in this interview that your constituency is very diverse. When you talk about affordable housing, you're talking about people who are homeless, people who are just starting their careers, people at the end of their life, people who are developers in the community. It's a diverse array of people.
Yes.
So when you have something like rent control, that's going to affect everybody. What are your thoughts on that as a solution?
I'm absolutely against rent control because there's an artificial means of artificially controlling supply and demand, which you cannot do. I don't believe in that. I believe in market economy.
Right.
And but we need to make sure, however, nothing's artificially constrained. That means we still need to find lower rent places for people to live in, and so we need to figure out how to build more reasonably, how to make things work better, how to be more efficient. So that's a big question, big problem, not that easy. And there's private sector involvement, there's public sector involvement. I think the public sector can lead with our goals and visions and policies, but I think the implementation, I would believe that the private sector will be much better at. And it doesn't mean that it's not a static, however, it's not a static situation. Not one solution doesn't fit all, one shoe doesn't fit all. We need to look at each city, each jurisdiction, and each community, what kind of solution would be right for us. I think that's the key. Because ultimately, it's the community that has to be living there, that has to be served by the public that we are elected to serve. Yeah,
right.
So.
And speaking of different communities, we'll go back and compare Bellevue and Seattle. And, Seattle's serving a community that's different than Bellevue. Like you've talked about prior, that Bellevue is more affluent, people who are later in their careers, people who are raising their families, buying homes. They want to live on the east side. It's a little bit quieter. It's not the booming
Right.
city of Seattle. And so a problem we're seeing in Seattle is obviously their homelessness problem. So do you think, when we're looking at affordable housing, do you think the lack of affordable housing is a cause and homelessness is the effect? That if we, worked harder on the issue of affordable housing, that would fix?
I am not sure.
Okay.
I don't think my first reaction is it isn't. We're trying to use affordable housing to address homeless problem. I think that's to me, it's a simple solution, which is not the right solution.
Right.
Homelessness is very complicated. There's mental situations, there's all sorts of psychological problems and physical problems, medical problems, and economic problems, obviously, right? And there's a lot of ways to handle it. And the state has a responsibility. There are other jurisdictions, have responsibility who are much better prepared, better to address it than, a simple city, with some, political and economic ability. I think that's a lot more complicated than that. And that's the reason why I believe that it is a problem, but we need to address it much more comprehensively. And to do that, obviously, part of it, if the solution affects the community, and the community need to be involved. But of course, the solution, we don't know what it's still going to be. It's not, to me, I don't believe it's a simple solution. I don't believe that it's something that everybody just have to own up, And I think we do have the responsibility overall, morally too. But the question is, in order to be effective, in order to be a real solution, that it's not going to perpetuate, we do need to have real solutions. And that requires much better, more comprehensive look at it.
So just moving on from to talking about involving the community. So as you've said before, a lot of voters feel like they don't necessarily have their voice represented when they cast their vote in November for who's going to be on city council. They're looking to have someone like you who's experienced, who wants to involve the community, wants to use their input to address these large problems. Because as we've talked, it's people who are starting out in their careers, people who are ending careers, developers. So would you, so for people that don't necessarily have a voice or feel like they have a voice, what's something that you would say, how they can weigh in on this affordable housing issue and help you to find a solution?
I would say that, when you're talking about politics, it's important to elect the people that you trust, that will listen to you, that will vote for, that will listen, that will represent you. And it's not somebody who look for simple, easy solution. Somebody who really want to get down to the root of it. That's number one. Two, the person should have some ability to do that. Sometimes people may have even good intentions, but they really become too expedient. What's simple, and they do go the easy thing. And I don't think that's good, that's fair to the people they represent. So I think I've demonstrated my ability to listen and my understanding of a solution, not a simple, easy solution, but the real solution that can get to the root of the problem. And it may take time. Sometimes people, that's another challenge that we all face as Americans. We are all very impatient. We want to get simple, shortcut, quick solutions. And I've seen that over and over. And I think it's reflected in the current sentiment of the public express. They feel that they're not listened to because the public is saying that, well, gee, we know better than you do, or we can do the job better than you do, and we don't have much time to listen to you. So why bother? But that's not the way to do it. Even if we know how to do better, we need to explain, we need to get the public on board so that we can do the next problem that comes. You cannot just do it, especially if the solution is not well thought of. It's not the right solution, and it's too late by that time, right? And so we need to make sure we establish, number one, people who elect office need to be listening, need to at least have the ability and the patience and the sincere commitment to work with the community and listen to the sides. And That, but also sometimes not easy. You have to be courageous enough, honest enough, have the integrity to say, well, maybe I don't quite agree with you. Maybe you're wrong. Let's have a discussion. Let's have a debate. Let's have people understand what your position is. It's always better to have people who understand why things are done than people who don't. Mm-hmm. Because you are not really building a population that can help you in solving the next problem. This country is a country of the people. The government is the government right. Of the people, for the people, by the people. So don't forget, people means the people who elect us, and we are there only to represent them. And they don't have the time to do the things, or they don't want to do the things we, for some reason, foolishly, we choose to do. Mm-hmm. So we need to understand that's our choice. And we need to understand it comes with sacrifice. It comes with sacrifice of the time we have, listen to them, genuinely and sincerely want to listen to the public and work through the problem with them.
Right.
And so that's the commitment that we have to make.
Mm-hmm. Well, speaking of people, I think we're going to wrap up now, but I think everybody who's tuned in to this Facebook video on affordable housing has really appreciated everything that you've had to say, Councilmember Lee. So thank you so much for being with us tonight.
Thank you.
Yeah.
It's my pleasure. I welcome any comments or questions. Mm-hmm. Feel free, send them in.
Yeah, definitely after the fact. We're going to wrap up tonight, but if you watch the video later on and you have any questions, feel free to email Conrad Lee or tweet at us or put them in the comment section.
We have another topic for the next discussion, right? Yeah, 2 weeks from now?
Yeah, in September 21st, we're going to be live again, I believe. So you can tune in at the same place at the same time, and we will be looking forward to having a large audience on that day, too. So thank you so much for joining us. It's been a great discussion. I think everybody's going to have affordable housing on their mind when they go to vote in November. So this has been good.
Thank you.
Thank you.